paragraph starts here in the Siman Chav Beis ve'etzem hashakla v'tarya. Okay, we saw last week the opinion of the Rogatchover, the innovative approach of the Rogatchover, which the Seridey Aish is somewhat dismissive of as being so innovative that, but it's not mentioned anywhere. He says in by the Rishonim or the Achronim, and therefore he doesn't utilize it. And for the here, this is where we're up to. We're going to start from ve'etzem hashakla v'tarya. Okay, that's where we're up to. The plan for today, hopefully, I'm going to push you hard today, hopefully, and that is we want to try and finish this tshuva and learn the next one in your bundle. Okay? Good, let's go. Follow with me. Ve'etzem hashakla v'tarya shel gedolei hador b'nisui arkois. Says, after having given that summary of the opinion of Reb Chaim Ozer, of the Rogatchover, the Dvar Avram, the Kovner, he then now goes back to basics. The essential halachic principle which underpins the argument between the different Gedolei Hador in the matter of Nisui Arkois, Soiviv Hoylech Ala Shaila. It all revolves around the following single question. The concept of a chazaka, what is the extent of it? As we saw in the Rivosh, right? How far does it go? Those who get married civilly, do we extend to them the principle of chazaka? Those who are lenient rely on the opinion of the Rambam, who says, quote, this chazaka only applies only in that limited case in the Gemara in Gittin, if you remember, of a man who divorced his wife and then spends the night with her. Or somebody who is Mekadesh his wife and on the basis of a Tanai and then is intimate with her stam. In both those cases there is reasonable doubt. There is reason to suggest it is plausible, it is logical to assume that this person doesn't want the Zanus, he wants Kiddushin. Aval b'shar hanoshim, harei kol zoyna b'chezkas shabal l'shem Zanus. Says the Rambam, any other relationship is viewed as being with a zoyna, it's chazaka, that it's for l'shem Zanus. So those who are mekel, so to speak. It's mekel meaning they're lenient, that you don't, not to require a get, correct. V'chein soimchem ala radvaz, next paragraph. V'chein soimchem ala radvaz, hamuva b'mishal melech el chizkesh perik yud. V'chein muva b'piskei tshuva she'is k'kvei teirosai, tebabayil nida lo yamrina, neina do meisa bilas bilasnus. That when somebody is prepared to be bayil and nida, we therefore don't apply the idea that a person won't be bayil bilasnus. Demand of alis akaris lechoshel bilasnus. Clearly, somebody who is not fazed by the very severe issa of nida is not going to care two hoots about bilasnus. On the other side of the aisle, the machmirim say, they said, and here he begins to, for the first, I think this is the first time we really see it black on white. Those who extend the chazaka of even to a situation of civil marriage, because they say the idea that when Chazal say chazaka, it has nothing to do with aveira or mitzvah. It has nothing to do with issa. It is a question of what is going on in this person's mind. Does he want to, how should I put this politely, just have a transactional, just pleasure himself? Or is he looking to set up a family? Forget Kiddushin, this is not about Kiddushin or Nisuin. What is he trying to achieve? Is he just having a fling? Is it just a one-night thing? Or is he actually looking to set up a marriage? Maybe not al pi Torah, but it's got nothing to do with how much of a Rasha or a tzaddik this guy is. Whether he is prepared to do nida or Kiddushin, not Kiddushin, that's not the point. The point is what is going on in his mind. Why is he being intimate with this woman? Does he wish to set up a family? Or is he just having pleasure?
But The thing is how plausible we really assume that he thinks is L'Shem Kiddushin.
No. That's exactly the point. when Chazal use the term Kiddushin, according to the Machmirim, they're not looking at it as classic Kiddushin in the classic halachic definition sense of the word. What is going on? And there are only the two options. You know what? Let him speak it out, because I said it to you outside. Let's give him a chance to give his definition inside. The Machmirim oimrim she'inyan ein adam oiseh bilaseh b'nezrus eino mitzad iso elo mitzad chibas mishpacha. Literally, the love of a family, meaning wanting to set up a family. How does that work? There is a broad assumption. One could query whether this is actually applicable today, or we could just say that actually it is still. Let's reframe it. You see, I don't want to get too sidetracked. But there was a time and an age where young girl was synonymous with virgin, which is where the whole virgin birth thing comes from in Isaiah 53 because of Alma and Basula, blah, 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 right? The whole doctrinal thing is based on a mistranslation, but it's a cultural assumption that a young girl, and Alma is a Basula, they were kind of one and the same. There was a time when stable, committed relationship equaled marriage. That no longer exists. Today you have partner. Now, just because, and here I'm no liberal, you know, you'd never know it, but I'm no liberal, but I do understand, and I do accept the idea that just because somebody is not married does not mean that they are not committed to the other person and actually desire, potentially at least, a stable, long-term committed relationship, which is, let's say, exclusive. We've just moved the goalposts, and it's regrettable. I don't think it's a good move for society for a whole bunch of reasons. That's not the point. But what he's saying over here is the same kind of thing. When we're saying what it means is the Zunus means, in his understanding, the Machmirim, in the mindset of the Machmirim, Zunus means having a fling. Just kind of what they call today, forgive me, hookup culture. Or, as I've discovered today, when people say, I'm dating somebody, that's what really it means. See, I've come from the world where the word usually, I'm not talking about you b'nei Torah, obviously, but step outside of that world. If somebody says that they're dating somebody else... Stepping outside every day, right? Yeah. Exactly. Just step outside the front door and use the word, I am dating so-and-so. It means I'm being intimate with them. There's no question about it.
Well, there's a fun fact about the young girl meaning virgin. In France, there used to be the word mademoiselle. And now it's very impolite to say that to a young lady because it makes assumptions about her virginity status.
Are you serious? I didn't know that. Okay. All right. The world never ceases to surprise me. Okay. So, the Machmirim are saying no.
But I'm confused with this stand.
Well, we're not finished. Okay. Give him some rope. Okay. Be patient. Shekol Adam Reitza be'ishus v'lo biznus. The assumption is that a person wants stability in their life. They want consistency, commitment. They want to wake up. You know, it's one thing when you're very, very young and you sow your wild oats or whatever. But as you get a little bit older, you want to settle down. You want stability, consistency, commitment. And today, regrettably, but it comes in different flavors, but the concept still exists. And therefore we have znus or chibas mishpacha. Znus means whatever, no commitment at all. It's just, it's transactional. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, kind of thing. That's one thing. Rega. But and the opposite of that is znus. Chibas mishpacha means stability, consistency, commitment. And therefore he goes on. Even something that is over every issue in the Torah. That does not mean that he doesn't want a stable, committed relationship life. Hamakilim toyanim. So that's what the Machmirim say. The Makilim toyanim shafilim no makain. The Makilim say, well, we accept this idea, but even if you're going to say so, Even if you're going to say so, but it's a suffix. I don't know what's going on in the mind of this guy. Mikomakim who's suffix. Is he choishish lebiras or not? Or mikivish yesh kan suffix. So given that there's a doubt, there is a doubt. I don't know, says the Mekilim. Therefore, he's like Mekadosh without Eidim, because Eidim don't know what's going on. Sheidim eidim yodim machoshem. V'oid shelfi hasvara hanal hu reitze beishus shel mishpacha v'dailoi im nis ashu nisui al pi arkois. In other words, to explain further, somebody who goes to the civil marriage, what is he saying? Why is he bothering to go to a civil marriage? He wants commitment. He wants some sort of contractual, whatever, it may be civil, it's not religious, but he wants it enshrined some way, and it's not just about the law. He wants it to be absolutely communicated clearly. We are an item together. We are building a family together, and that's why this person goes to the civil law. Yes, he's not from. This fellow's not from, and he doesn't care about Dinei Torah. But what does he want? He wants chibas, what he calls chibas mishpacha. V'ayin be'evan ezer siman lamed gimel mevi Ramah shtei deyos. We saw in the Ramah in siman lamed gimel 2 opinions where the ponoi abal apnuya im chesheshim le'eino domesu b'ilasa b'laznus v'sham kosav. There the Ramah paskins dim huchzak liznus. If a person has a reputation, or if we know already from his previous behavior that he commits zinus, im yesh le'isha acheres ein chesheshim. Then we don't say that it was kiddushin. Ubenidon didon. Now back to our case. In this case over here, that the shaila came to him, the guy didn't even want a civil marriage, even though even though she begged him to commit. And then this guy went and left her, and then he took a Gentile woman. In this particular case, therefore, says the Seridey Aish, we do not need to be concerned whether according to the Machmirim or the Mekilim, we don't need to be concerned about because his actions demonstrate clearly that he wants znus, he does not want chaye mishpacha. There are many pilpulim. Remember, this is in 1951. Va'adayan, and these are important words. Adayan loiba'u harabonim lahachra'a muchletes. The poskim in 1951, says the Seridey Aish, have not yet definitively decided what the halacha is. V'lakach, therefore, lefidati yesh lismoich al. Therefore, he says you should rely on Reb Chaim Ozer. Shehu haya haposek ha'acharon shebedayreinu. He is the last word, literally. He's the last word on halacha in our generation. Ukvoid Teirosei Hediani Shagam Hagon Reb Shalom David Kahana Mivarshi Yerushalayim Hira Lahokel B'Shas Igun. And this, I don't know who this was, I'm ashamed to say, who was Megidoli HaRosh HaBadayr who Omad B'Masamat Mishalachim Kol Gidoli HaDayr Yesh Lismich Olav B'Chol Oifen. Therefore you can rely on that. So, in this particular scenario, so what he's done here very brilliantly is he's sketched out the landscape for us. We now understand the Das HaMachmirim, come to you now, sorry. We now understand the Das HaMekilim, and he says, therefore, in this scenario, where we can see from this guy's actions, the last thing this fellow wanted was commitment. He was a real so-and-so. He just wanted to have a nice life. And therefore, at the first sign of any trouble, he left this. He didn't even want to give this Jewish girl a civil marriage. He wanted no commitment. At the first sign of it, even though she begged him, he then went off with a goiter. Therefore, and now, the shaila is, therefore he says, whether you machmirin or mekilim, in this case, but mokim igun will go along with Reb Chaim Ozer, and therefore no get is required. Yes, I'm sorry I made you wait patiently. Go on.
This new concept of wanting a family, yes?
So he tells us it's not a new concept.
Okay.
This is...
Whatever this concept is, in our class it's the new concept. Yeah, it goes against the Rivash and against the Rambam. Yes, because the Rivash's case of the priest marrying is clearly they're getting a priest and publicly getting married by the priest.
That's Das HaMachmirim and Das HaMekilim.
So the Das HaMachmirim are going clearly against the Rivash and clearly against the Rambam, because Rambam's case with the Grusha, where with a Din Bagoyim, he married the Grusha Badin.
No, one second, how's it going against the Rambam? It's with the Rambam. It's with the Rambam and with the Radvaz. It's with the Rambam. The Rambam says you only say Chazaka in Olam Esav B'Nus but L'Shem Kiddushin only with Ishta Grusha, only 2 cases. All other cases is Zanus.
No, that's one of the interpretation of the Rambam.
No, that's the words, that's the translation of the Rambam.
Rak?
That's what he says. Shaloi Amru Chazokazu. I read it and translated it this morning. Shaloi Amru Chazokazu, Ella Be'ishta Shekir Shal Bilvad. Doesn't get clearer than that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was that's Shittas Rambam and the Radvat. Although there was steerers in the Radvat, you're right. It's Shaloika Rivosh. It would have seemed. You're quite right. Okay. Fine. V'hinei. Then let's finish off the next paragraph. V'hinei. Hagon mikovna b'sifrei Hanal. He's now quoting the Dvar of Rom. Maybe b'shem Hagon Reb. Some Kohen Midvinsk. Now it's not the Drogochov, and it's not the Dvinsky. It's normally Reb Meir Simcha Kohen would be the Meshech Chochma. It's neither of those. I don't know who this is. Well, the Dayan is Reb Simcha Zelig, not Reb Simcha Zelig either. I don't know. Now here he introduces a really, and this also gives you an insight into a derech in Psak. He says as follows. Here he brings the opinion that the Dvar of Ram brings. I suppose I could look it up because I actually printed out the Dvar of Ram. I wasn't going to give it to you, but I did the research and printed it out. We can see who it is. It doesn't matter. There was a Goyin in Dvinsk who said, this should not become just carte blanche, that in every case we say no get is needed. In other words, you should Drisha Chakira, of course. Drisha Chakira. Each time you should investigate every case. The suggestion was from this Goyin, whoever it was, Goyin Midvinsk, that there should not be a blanket psak, heter, or thing. And this is so reminiscent, remember from the letter from Reb Chaim Ozer, the same cautious approach, that it would depend. And therefore, basically what he's saying is the suggestion is taken on a case-by-case basis. V'rak beheskim gimel rabbonim yesh lahatir b'shas adchak. With gimel rabbonim, then you could be matir b'shas adchak. V'datoi nirasli, says the Seridey Aish, I like that approach. Kedei shelo yeh hador hefka. So it shouldn't just become hefka. Because we don't have Sanhedrin. We do not have collective. There is no such thing as a Sanhedrin today. Okay, and this is a separate topic. There is no central, that's the word. Centralized authority in Halacha does not exist anymore today. You can and do have a scenario where you would have a Gedolei HaPoskim in America arguing with Gedolei HaPoskim in Eretz Yisrael, and them, we've discussed this. Shlomo Zalman saying, "Why are you asking me? Go and ask Rav Moshe Feinstein in America." And Rav Moshe saying the same thing for Eretz Yisrael, but at the same time recognizing that there is no single, no Goyin or Godel, however great they are, have the power to paskin unilaterally for all of Klal Yisrael, since we don't have a Sanhedrin. Okay? I know, he says to this Rav Lieberman from Regensburg. No, sorry, not that one. I'm reading the wrong one. Sorry. That's coming up soon. This was Rav Lezarovsky from München. He says, I know that where you are, there are not Gimel Ravhonim of Hokim Bohira. So in 1951 in Munich, there was not, in the opinion of Rav, of the Seridey Aish, Rav Weinberg, there were not 3 Gedolim in Hoira in Munich. Interesting comment. Therefore, even if you find them, they might not want to agree to get involved. Therefore, he gives them an interesting piece of advice. What you should do is you should turn to the Rav HaRashi Shel Eretz Yisrael, Hagon Agodel Rav Herzog Shlita, and he and his Beis Din will be Machria, and Rav Herzog always joins in with his Beis Din. And he will bring also Reb Shem David Kahana Shlita, Zekan HaHoira'a B'Doireinu. And therefore, then you should write a letter, write this, my letter, to the Rav HaRashi. He definitely will agree, because he uses all his kayach lahoitzi neshei Yisrael mikavlei ha'Igun, from the chains of Igun, of Aguno, and therefore you can publicize that you asked me, and you can publicize that you wrote to the Rav HaRashi, and that's it. End of story. Okay? That's the first tshuva from And there's so many pieces in here that are so important. Next one, the next tshuva we have here. Good, we're making good progress. The next tshuva we have here, and I'm going to run through this because there's only a little bit of it which is relevant to us, although it's an absolutely fascinating story. And the approach. Here, this is much later. This is 1961. Okay, you have this here, Simon Sadi Gimel. Okay, Seridey Aish, Simon Sadi Gimel. And this is written to Rav Lieberman, based in Regensburg, and this is about. This is, and like I said, this is in 1961. Bidvar asher nishkal k'v'teirosa b'ishu isha sheniswa pi arkois v'derech daru yachdu k'ish ish zman rav. What happened was there was a young couple that got married civilly and lived together for a long time, and now she becomes pregnant, and they heard that without chuppah and kiddushin the kid would be a mamzer, and therefore they want that he should be masada kiddushin for them after she's pregnant. Yeah. That's the old joke, the old joke about the 3 types of chuppah. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't say it on camera. Okay, next. So Rav Lieberman's shaila was as follows: are you allowed to be Mesadik Kiddushin? Because we know they don't keep Hilchas Niddah. She v'hi b'vadai Niddah. She's definitely a Niddah, and we're going to see this later at some point. In fact, we need to get back to making progress in the Hilchas Kiddushin because we could spend.
Sorry, they want to do chuppah before the kid is born or after?
Doesn't make any difference, really. Okay. But presumably, I don't know how they thought. But if you think about it, what difference does it make?
No, halachically doesn't make a difference.
Halachically, but in their mind, people have all sorts of weird and wonderful ideas about halacha. And sometimes it works to one's advantage and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so he says, so Rav Lieberman said, maybe I shouldn't be Mesadik Kiddushin for them because they don't keep Hilchas Niddah. And the Mechaber Paskins in Even Ezer Siman Samach Alev, Kosher Adava Shlo Tinos Ad Shiti Toer. The Mechaber Paskins, Kosher Adava. It is appropriate not to marry, not to do Chupas Niddah. V'lachein Rotze Lahachmir. So what he wants to do is to ask the woman to go to mikveh before the Kiddushin, but she says that the doctor told her not to go into the water as when she's pregnant. Mm-hmm. Go figure. German medicine in 1961. Doesn't sound like Boba Mises to me. But anyway, and therefore he wants to be makel on the words of the Riva over there, who says that says the Rama, it's a good idea to tell the chosan beforehand that she is a niddah. And he wants to know what should they do. So the first thing, Rav, you can hear the Seridey Aish, how shall I put this politely? He's being restrained. Listen to this. Hine ein shaychus kol anal nidden didon. Straight stack up kind of thing. There's no connection to these things. The hosa mayra banoshim ksherim shenis horim. The Mechaber is talking about anoshim ksherim. Elachayidin. Who nizhorim bisanida, but there's a machlokes between the Rambam and the Rishonim about chupas nida, whether chupas nida is kaina or not, because it's a chuppah sheinim ru'uyim lebiyah. And the Mechaber holds he should be machmin. The Ramah says the minig is not to be medactic, but says the Ramah it's a good idea. He says, well, it's got no. The shaila is a din in the kinyan, whether the kinyan of chuppah works if she's a nida. Ulam benid, next paragraph. Ulam benid and didan, but in our case, it's a totally different shaila. Is it mutter to be Mesadik Kiddushin la'avaryanim shechashudim al isam nida? And I suppose outside of kind of this gemeinde, I presume every Rav in Germany and many of them in many places of the world where they perform chuppah v'kiddushin to couples that they know are not going to keep taras mishpacha. And the question is, are you Messiah or you Aveira? And here he says an interesting thing, and this could be a reflection of what was going on in society at the time in 1961. She is not going to be intimate with this guy without Kiddushin. It seems in 1960 that was still the case. And therefore you are enabling Messiah. It's a problem. Even Afilu in Mevera Saldas. Because she doesn't want to be mufka ba'al is nust shloi b'derech ishus. So now you're Mesadik Kiddushin. From now on, she'll be with her husband for the rest of her life, and she's not going to go to mikveh. You know that, so you have enabled this situation. That's your shaila lifnei iver of Messiah. V'yodea ani. Now here, this is absolutely fascinating. V'yedei ki agoyin atzadik Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld zatzal. B'Yerushalayim hechmir ma'od. V'osar be'isach chomor shlei l'sadik kiddushin ad shetitboil es atzmo koydem achuppah. He would not be Masada Kiddushin if the Kala had not been in the mikveh. Even if we know that afterwards they're not going to keep niddah. But still, he says, I'm Masada Kiddushin, you will go to the mikveh first. When I do it, it will be okay. V'gam ani noyeg, says Rav Weinberg, and this is my minhag as well. I will not be Masada Kiddushin only if the woman goes to mikveh first. He says there was a story here in Montreux. They were a young couple. They were learning in the university in Geneva. They were free thinkers, and they came to me to be Masada Kiddushin, and I didn't want it until she went to mikveh and she accepted. The kibla aleha behen shalosh tiyazir gam lahababadinei mitnida. And as a result, he said, it's one of these stories. He says, as a result of me being insistent, they started thinking and investigating about it. And today she actually l'simchosi noidali shem chaim achshav be'eretz Yisrael. That now they're living in Eretz Yisrael, and he has become l'mishra gedayla. He's got a big job, even though they're chofshiyim, even though they don't keep other things. Heim nizharim b'dinei nida. They are careful in dinei nida. L'fisha kiblu aleim befonai kedem knisasam l'chuppah. Because this is the 1960s, you gave your word to a rabbi, you kept it. He said, I made them and they undertook to keep Hilchos Nida. Even though everything else they didn't care, they stuck to it. Your word is your word. However, however in Poland, America, the Rabbonim are not particular, and they are Masada Kiddushin, even if they don't know that she went to mikveh. And their reason is because if I don't do it, they'll go to the reform and they'll go to civil marriage. Interesting. There was a halachic journal. It was authored put together by somebody called Rav Elberg, Shlita, who's Hatzel now. Rav Elberg was about paradise. There's no lifnei iver. He held there's no lifnei iver. There's no Messiah. And you can look in Seridey, you can find out. I don't have time, especially nowadays, where anyway they get married civilly and they live together with each other. They don't keep niddah anyway. Therefore, definitely the Siddur Kiddushin is not adding to the problem in any way. And even more, when the Dogel Mervava, this by the way is a fascinating Dogel Mervava, what would be if you Messiah over Aveira be Yisrael Mazid? He says there's no Messiah. If the guy's going to, because it's only betray Avra Denara, right? Two sides of the river, right? But if he's going to go and do it anyway, then it's not an Issa. You have to know the Shach holds there's no mitzvah nafrishai. It could be even those who argue on the Dogel Mervavi says Barak. However, Roisi b'Sefer Melamed Lahoyel, he says, however, I saw in the Melamed Lahoyel, even as a Simon Gimel, Shahir al Dibra Tazbi Erodei Shimbal Ishtay Shalei Tov LaKarosh Tzach Lafish Tzadi Yem Shum Avchana, that if a person was with his wife who had not been to mikveh, you need to have 90 days left to separate because of Avchana Savlat to know whether it's a Ben Hanidr or not. Like with the Ger and Ishtay Sheis Gairu. But the Nekudas HaKesef argues with the Nekudas HaKesef, that's the Shach, argues with the Taz, and he says only with a Ger, where there was a Hazrosh Shalei B'Kedusha, there's Havchana, but not with Baal Nida, the Ben Eskosh, even Lekuna. Fine. Ulam, last paragraph. Yesh Chashash L'Inyan HaBrocha. But what about the Brocha? There are many Rabbanim who hold that even with Nisui Arkois, and then they live together, V'Huchzu B'Kach Hareihim Eishes Ish Gemura. There are those that hold that if they lived together on the basis of a civil marriage, they already have a din of an Eishes Ish, so you can't go and do Sheva Brachas. They're already married. So Shailin a Bracha. Ulefi dat Amir Varzayim Brachas. Aval das Roiv, Gedoyle HaGedoylim Shein B'Nisui Arkois Mishum Isa Eishes Ish Tzricha Get. Most. Now here, so he's moved from 1951 to 1961, and now look what he says. He says most Gedolim hold there's no Isha Ish and doesn't really require a get. Because everybody knows they got married in the Harkois. Other Rabbi says, by making the Sheva Brachas, we are making a statement that the civil marriage meant absolutely nothing. Ein Even Ezer, and if you didn't do it, good, finished. And that is pretty much the end of that. Where does that leave us? I'm sorry, I bulldozed today, so I want to make some progress, yeah? So I bulldozed today a little bit. Where does that leave us? I think what we need to do next is, I'm going to show you in very short the opinions of Reb Shlomo Zalman, Reb Moshe, Reb Elyashiv on how we treat civil marriages today. We'll do that tomorrow, Bli Neder, and then we'll move on to the next topic and finish off the Simon in Even Ezer. Okay? Shkoyach.